Welcome to Lelli and Fawn Growing Through It. Rated R for real talk, ridiculous amounts of cussing, and at least one mention of childhood trauma per episode because healing. If you're down for big sister energy, a little chaos, and the occasional get your shit together lovingly moment, hi. Welcome.
We talk about the messy stuff. We talk about the hard stuff. We talk about the hilarious, are we really admitting this stuff? Because growth isn't linear.
We're Lelli and Fawn, twin sisters, spicy and self-aware, and we are growing through it one brutally honest conversation at a time.
So let's get into it. So today we are calling ourselves all the way out because we're talking about the thing that we all do, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect moment, for the stars to align. And the truth is, that perfect moment may never come. But the cool part, you actually don't need it to.
Ever notice how sometimes fear doesn't feel like fear? It shows up like, I'm just planning, or I'm just getting ready. Like, we tell ourselves we're just being smart about it, which, don't get me wrong, having a plan is cute, and at some point it's like, okay, let's do something here.
So yeah, I totally agree. I can't tell you how many times I have been just stuck in the endless planning stage, and it all comes down to fear of actually starting, because for me at least, it was, the fear of rejection, even if I didn't realize it. But like you said, you don't have to have everything perfectly planned out. It's just taking that one small, just getting started. Even if you're scared, don't be like me and be stuck in an endless cycle of planning. Just take one small step to get started.
So let's get into it, because perfectionism and that little voice that says, if it's not exactly right, I can't start, you know the one. Cute, she's convincing, but honestly, she's kind of full of shit. Look, wanting to do things well isn't bad. Wanting to feel proud of your work isn't bad. But where it gets tricky is when doing well turns into, unless it's flawless, I'm not even allowed to try. And the thing is, that mindset feels safe, because if we never start, we can never mess up. We can never get judged. We can never let ourselves down. It's a protection. It's not you being lazy. It's not you being too bad at follow through. It's just your brain trying to keep you safe. That's it. It's human. Can't tell you how many times I thought I was being smart by waiting until everything was ready. So I was like, oh, once I have the right camera, the perfect logo, the magical burst of confidence from the universe. Meanwhile, months are passing and time is passing me by. Years sometimes. And deep down, I wasn't waiting for the right tools. I was waiting to feel safe enough to be in. And spoiler alert, that feeling never magically appears. You usually have to move first, then the safety feeling slowly catches up. So if you've been feeling stuck in that it's not all the way right yet place, first of all, you're not broken, not lazy, you're not doing life wrong, you're just a little scared. And honestly, that fear makes sense. You're about to put your heart into something, and that's not a small deal. But also, you're allowed to move anyway. Even if your first version is messy, even if you're still figuring it out as you go, even if you cringe a little bit looking back later, because same, your messy start will teach you more than any amount of getting ready ever could. And honestly, it's never actually been about being perfect. It's always been about being brave. So yeah, give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to be awkward. Permission to have it not all figured out. Because honestly, nobody ever changed their life by getting ready forever. They changed it by starting exactly where they are, messy, human, and brave as hell.
Yeah, and I think we've all fallen into this trap, and it's totally valid. The world kind of preaches perfectionism in a lot of ways, and it all really comes down to authenticity. You have to go into it exactly as you are, and none of us are perfect. And if you just show up in that light and say, like, this is exactly who I am, like mess and all. The perfect example of this, just as Fawn was talking about, is this podcast. Like, we have no clue what we're doing. Like, we just started. We're just two gals sitting in our rooms with these cameras pointing at us, just yakking it up. Like,
Yapping
we
away.
have no clue what we're doing. We just felt called to start this, and we're just figuring it out as we go. And here we are, just doing our best because we feel called to share these messages, and fingers crossed it reaches the people that it's meant to. So, this is your sign, just start and hope for the best. It doesn't need to be perfect because we sure as hell ain't. Take it from us.
Okay, let's talk about one of the sneakiest traps that we fall into when overwhelm and executive dysfunction start lying to us, telling us that everything has to be just right before we even think about starting. It's like, well, first I have to clean my whole house, reorganize my files, fix my sleep schedule, and then maybe I'll feel ready to work on that thing that I actually care about. Girl, it's a setup. When your brain is overwhelmed or when executive dysfunction is showing up heavy, your mind wants to build this giant checklist of things that you have to do first. Like a whole scavenger hunt just to earn the right to start. And the worst part is, it sounds so reasonable. It sounds like, oh, of course I can't start that project yet. My desk isn't even organized. Or, I'm too tired today. I need to rest. No, I don't like that one. Oh, no, it is. Okay, just kidding. I don't want to today. I need to reset my whole routine first. Yeah, because, like, obviously the key to writing that book is first doing 37 loads of laundry and then drinking green juice. Like, no. Or even, I need to fix my mindset before I even think about trying. And honestly, I get it. It feels safer to delay the scary thing and focus on the stuff that feels fixable. It feels less overwhelming to think, if I can just get everything in order first, and then I'll be unstoppable. But the truth is that you don't need a perfectly clean slate to begin. You don't need the perfect system. You just need to start small enough that it doesn't scare you right back into hiding. There have been days where I felt like I needed to fix my entire life before I deserved to even think about chasing my goals. And honestly, if I waited until everything was perfect, I'd still be sitting there making to-do lists about making to-do lists. The way out isn't forcing yourself to fix everything at once. It's meeting yourself exactly where you are. The mess, the chaos, exhaustion ever, and doing one tiny thing. Like, literally one thing. And letting that be enough for today. Because you're not behind, you are not broken, you're not bad at life. You're a human being who's doing their best with a brain that sometimes needs a little extra support. You don't have to earn your way into starting, you just have to start. See, I think it needs to be added into, like, to give yourself grace, because executive dysfunction is, like, not something you can do anything about whenever it's hitting. Like, there's really no way out of it.
So yeah, at least for me, dealing with executive dysfunction, it was just that feeling of complete overwhelm where I was just frozen. And all I could think about was this mental load of things that I had to do that was so overwhelming. Like I said, I was just frozen and I literally could not do anything. And so it's so weird to like be in that place too, to like know all of these things that you have to do, but at the same time be stuck and not able to do them. And I think in that moment, it's just really important to give yourself grace and to understand, like, it happens to the best of us, to the worst of us, any of us, and in that moment, take a nap.
Fix everything.
If that's the one thing that you can do in that moment, just take the damn nap.
Yeah, because the thing as well is, like, you have to make sure that you're taken care of before you can start anything else. So if that's what you're starting out as your ground zero, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be at a certain point of, before you can even try to do anything, and that's okay too. Well, we are all starting at different spots, and it's okay that if you're not at the point where you can start anything yet, but that's why we're here. That's what we're here to help you with.
Exactly.
So, we're going to talk about something that hits too deep. Waiting. So, not just waiting for the right time or the right mood, but waiting for someone else to say, like, okay, you're allowed to do this now. That quiet, almost invisible kind of waiting for permission, for validation, and for a green light from someone who probably doesn't even know that they are holding the light. And let's be real, it makes sense. Most of us were raised to look outside of ourselves for approval, to ask for permission, not to be too much, not to be too loud or too confident. So it's no surprise when we do start to feel pulled towards something, whether it's posting your art, quitting your job, starting the podcast, whatever, we freeze. We think, well, I want to, but I'm just gonna wait and see if anybody else thinks that I should. I've literally had moments where I've thought if no one compliments this idea, maybe it's not a good one. Or if I post and no one likes it, then maybe it means that I shouldn't be doing it. As if silence from other people means that I should say something. And that's just not the truth. That's just fear wearing like a polite little mask. So the truth is, a lot of the time, we're not waiting for actual permission. We're waiting for certainty. We want someone to guarantee it'll work out. We want someone to promise that it will be worth it. And no one can do that. And that sucks, I know. But it also doesn't mean that you have to keep waiting. You don't need a green light from your family. You don't need your partner's full understanding. You don't need your friends to cheer you on every step of the way. Like, would it be nice? Absolutely. But is it required? No. Sometimes the green light has to come from you, even if it's quiet, even if you're still a little unsure. If there's something you can't stop thinking about, some version of you keep imagining, you don't need anyone else to co-sign for it to be valid. You are the one living your life. You're the one waking up with your thoughts and dreams and potential every single day. You're the one who gets to decide this matters to me and that's enough. So no more waiting for permission to shine. No more holding back until the world gives you a loud yes. You're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to trust your gut. And you're allowed to be proud of yourself, even if no one claps yet. Let's be real. Half the people we're waiting on don't even understand what we're trying to do anyway. So the green light, it's been inside you this whole time. So go.
Absolutely. I think that validation from others is something at least I dealt with. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but knowing how much it affected me up until probably more recently than I'd like to admit, honestly. I can probably say a lot of others, probably had a similar experience. And it's something that a lot of us don't realize how much it really does affect us, I don't think. And once you let go of that, oh my gosh, how freeing, how liberating.
It really is. There's nothing else.
It really is.
Like it.
Yeah. And it's like, like I said earlier, just like living as your true authentic self, like really not giving a good goddamn about what anybody thinks. And I used to think, like, I don't care what anybody thinks, but that was just me trying not to care what anybody thinks. But that was just me saying that to make people think I didn't care what anybody, thought, but it wasn't real. But now I get to really not care. And it's great. So that's my advice to people. Really, really work on that and get, your validation from yourself. I guess so really what I'm trying to say with that is the more you foster that relationship with yourself, the more you can connect with who you are and how to really be yourself and shine through authentically. And so the less you care about what other people think, the more you can not need validation from others.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about a very relatable lie that we have all told ourselves. I'll start once life calms down. That little gem. This life is just going to show up one day like, surprise, no more chaos, no more bills, no more emotional roller coasters. Go chase your dreams, queen. I'd be serious. We say that because we want to believe life will eventually slow down enough for us to finally feel ready. And I get it. When you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're just trying to survive. Of course your brain says, let's wait until things feel more stable. It sounds reasonable. But what usually happens is life keeps on lifing. There's always something. Work, family, health stuff, money stuff, random existential dread at 2 a.m. Take your pick. I've said once life calms down more times than I can count. I've said it while burning out, while people pleasing, while spiraling about stuff that honestly didn't even matter. And every time I've waited thinking peace was coming, I just ended up in a deeper cycle of pause. And look, I'm not saying that we need to hustle through survival mode. It's not about pushing yourself when you truly need rest, but sometimes once life calms down isn't actually rest, it's resistance. It's fear dressed up like patience. The reality is life is always going to be a little messy. There's no perfect window. So what if you just didn't wait? What if you started anyway, in the middle of the noise? Even if it's imperfect, even if you're not at your best, even if it's one tiny baby step while everything else still feels upside down. You don't have to wait for the chaos to disappear. You just have to decide that your dreams deserve space even in the middle of it. Because life might not calm down, but you can still rise up.
So I'm going to use a personal example here because, once life calms down, like technically I am living my best life yet. And two things can be true at once. My life is fucking chaos right now. It's fucking out of control. And I am doing so many things that I never thought were possible. I have more money in the bank than I've ever had. I have accomplished so many goals that I never thought I would accomplish, and yet my life is literally fucking crazy. So if that goes to show you anything, it may never calm down. Even if it did calm down enough for you to go after some goals, like once you reach those goals, like it's gonna pick back up, babe. It's gonna pick back up because you're hitting these milestones. Like you gotta keep up with them. So it's gonna be a wild ride, but it's gonna be
it's kind of not unfortunate per se, but it's true. Like the thing about leveling up is that you're at that level, and that's just gonna be if you're doing normal. So for instance, it's my dream to become a full-time content creator, and so once I started being able to put myself out there, then I started getting gifted brand deals. Right now, I have to keep up with all these brands that sent me free stuff, which is cool. Yeah, but then I told them that I would make a video, right? So then now I have obligations that I have to do that I wouldn't have if I wasn't at that point in my influencer journey. So it's it just goes to show whatever level that you're at is going to have more noise or more chaos that comes with that level.
So yeah, waiting feels safe, and honestly, sometimes is the easier choice. But what if we didn't have to wait for perfect conditions to give ourselves permission to start? What if messy, imperfect, figuring it out as you go?
Okay, so let's talk about something so real and normal, but we rarely say it out loud. The longer you wait to do the thing, scarier it can feel, even if it's something small, even if it's something that you want to do. And that doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you're unmotivated or bad at life or any of that. It just means you're human. Your brain is doing that thing where it turns a little task into a big scary monster the longer it sits there untouched. I've literally put off answering an email for a week and convinced myself it was going to be this huge deal. Then I finally open it and it's like, hey, just checking in. It's never as bad as I built it up to be in my head. The longer I wait, the more intense the dread gets. So if you've been putting something off, posting, partying, back, that's why I never text anybody back. Don't text me. I probably won't text you. Whatever, and now it feels like a 10 times bigger deal than it did before. That's normal. That's not just a flaw in your personality. Not just a flaw. Just a flaw. It's not a flaw in your personality. That's just what happens when fear and time team up. They turn a thing into the thing. But here's the good part. It can feel intimidating and still be doable. You don't have to wait for it to shrink before you begin. You can feel the nerves, the pressure, the oh, this is awkward energy, and still take one step. And honestly, the moment you start, the second you move a tiny bit towards it, it usually softens. Because now you're not frozen looking at the mountain, you're climbing it, even if you're crawling. So you're not bad at starting, you're not broken for feeling overwhelmed, you're just in that very normal moment when your brain's been sitting with something too long and it feels heavier than it is. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to stop staring at you just need to stop staring at the thing and try one little move. That's where the shift starts, but you've got this.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was in my anxiety and depression era, which was...
we're still there a little bit, let's be real.
Yeah, still there. I'm coming out of it pretty good. Now I'm more of Now I'm more of like the mood stabilization, which I think has a lot to do with like the sleep apnea. Yeah. So I'm coming out of my depression and anxiety era and more into like my mood stabilization era. But I think a lot of my mood stabilization stuff comes from my sleep deprivation, from the sleep apnea. Anyway, so when I was in my depression and anxiety era, I would put stuff off so bad. So bad. Like most minuscule fucking things that you could think, I would spiral over. Like full on like mental breakdown spiral. And it's like, so I would just spiral and spiral over these tiny little things or the tiny little details. And I will tell you, surprise, surprise,
Yes.
it never did me any good. Surprise, 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 surprise. It never did me any good. Never ever did it make the situation any easier. And I know when you're in that space of the anxiety and depression, there's not much you can do about it. But, you know, if you're not in that headspace and you if you can control it, like please don't do that, because like if you have the will to control it, like really please work on, you know, I'm finding it.
It do.
I'm because it is a slippery slope, and you know it's normal. It do me normal. It's not a flaw necessarily. Just we tend to make things a lot harder on ourselves than we need to, and
I'm the queen of doing
it's yeah. And why not like make life as easy as we can on ourselves? You know, it might seem harder at first to get over the hurdle of conquering the, I guess, what would it be? Like not a fear. I guess it might be in some cases, but like
But here's a simple reminder, but it's so easy to forget. Tiny starts are still starts. And so that little step that you took that felt too small to count, I promise you, it counts. So we're lagging. Sometimes we get it in our heads that starting has to be this big dramatic moment. Like the music swells, the clouds part, we make a huge announcement. But life usually looks like sending one email, writing that first messy paragraph, signing up for that class, telling one person you trust about your idea. It doesn't mean meaningless. It doesn't mean weak. Tiny is powerful. Some of my biggest shifts and some of the biggest shifts in my life started from something that felt so small it was almost embarrassing. Like posting a random photo when I wasn't sure if anyone would even see it. Just jotting down a few sentences when I was scared that I had nothing interesting to say. Just trying quietly and imperfectly. And if you're in the place right now where you're taking little steps that feel invisible, maybe nobody's cheering you on yet, maybe it feels like it doesn't count because it's not flashy, I just want you to know, like, it does count. It's momentum, it's movement, and every massive wave starts with a tiny ripple. So you're building something even if you cannot see it clearly yet. Tiny starts matter. Tiny starts stack up. Tiny starts eventually turn into things that change your life. So don't wait for it to feel huge. Don't wait for it to look perfect. Honor the tiny start. Be proud of the tiny start, because it's not tiny to your future self. To her, it's everything. To them, it's everything.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, every single rainforest started from a single seed. And that's how you have to think of it. It's planting a seed, and it may take longer than you want it to sprout and grow that rainforest, but it will eventually happen. All you have to do is keep trying and not give up. As long as you keep trying, you will see results. They might not be as fast as you want them to be, but I believe in divine timing, and as long as you keep working towards your goals and keep working on your heart as well, and you know, your relationship with yourself,
Your belief.
your belief in yourself, and making sure also that you're moving with love, I think is a really big
you're
big
making
one.
moves that harm other people, then you're fucking pedaling backwards, basically.
Yeah, yeah. If you make every move with love in your heart, with a desire to make the world a better place, your dreams are gonna
Even if
come true,
making the
babe.
world a better place is making yourself like the best version of you that you can be, not even the best version, just like just someone that you like. Just making yourself somebody that you like is change.
Yeah. And exactly. And I don't mean making the world a
You're not
better
required
place,
to.
like starting
Yeah.
a fucking
Yeah.
nonprofit or doing anything, like giving somebody a compliment. Like, I had to go to the lab yesterday and there was this sweet little woman who came out who had like this bright ass purple hair. And I said, "Oh my God, I love your hair. I love the color of your hair." And she was very happy to hear that. She said thank you. And another thing that I did, there was a full house. And another thing that I did was I stood in the corner because our town is full of
Many old
elderly.
people.
And so I stood in the corner making sure that, all the elderly people had a place to sit. Like, that's what I mean. Like, just small ways to make sure somebody else has a good day, But that's not to say either to put yourself
No.
in a shitty
Oh, hell
spot to
no.
do so.
No.
Don't do that.
That's just the
That's not
opposite
what I
of
mean
what you should be
either.
doing. Say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like grab the camera right now. Say fucking no to anything that you don't want to do. Say
Yeah.
no. But do not do
Yes.
anything that you know is gonna drain your fucking energy. If there's a thing like, oh, I'm too tired, or oh, that doesn't like, the people pleasing, fucking stop immediately. Sorry.
Absolutely.
They're really passionate right there for fucking stop. Sorry, I have one more one more
no.
thing on that. So
Go, girl.
I was like,
Do it.
literally, if someone asks you to do their grandma's funeral, like, I don't care, you know what I mean? If you don't want to, say no. If, somebody's asking you, can you donate my kidney? You don't want to? Fuck, say no, bitch. Like, anything you don't.
With love, do small good deeds within your realm of comfortability. And I was thinking about too how the lotus flower, it forms in like ponds and stuff. And it's kind of the same thing as like sprouting from a seed. It has to like start through all this mud and gunk and dirt like at the bottom. And it's really amazing how it like has to grow through all this adversity because it has to like start in the mud and gunk and like grow up through all this murky water. And like, I don't know how long they take to grow or anything, but and like, think about how long that takes to happen to sprout through all the mud and gunk and then just like grow up to the water and like seeing the sun the whole time, like not knowing if it's gonna make it. Like, I'll get there eventually, seeing the sun the whole time above the water and having to grow that whole time, knowing I'll make it someday. And eventually it blooms into this beautiful flower and it reaches the sunshine, And so that's kind of what the tiny starts kind of makes me think of,
Yeah,
the lotus
because
flower.
even
So
a half a centimeter, you're getting up towards that sun as long as you have that goal and you see that goal and you're looking towards it with every step that you take. That's what it's all about, no matter how big or tiny that step is. So today we're also going to talk about starting messy and more importantly, why that is not a failure. It's actually one of the bravest things that you can do. So somewhere along the way, we get sold this idea that if you don't start perfectly, if you don't have it all figured out and polished and shiny, somehow you're doing it wrong. But like, since when? Since when was being new, being human, being in progress a bad thing? If I'm being real with you, some of the most meaningful things that I've done, I've started absolutely clueless. Like, no clear plan, vibes only levels of messy. And you know what? Like, that wasn't a character flaw. It was courage. Because showing up without guarantees, without a blueprint, that is brave as hell. So it's easy to look at other people's middle and compare it to your beginning. It's easy to think that I'm already behind or I'm not doing it right. But the truth is that everyone's first draft is messy. Everyone's early attempts are a little awkward. The people you look up to, they didn't just skip that part. They didn't just quit in the middle. So if you're starting something right now and it feels unorganized, shaky, and uncomfortable, that's not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you are moving. It's proof that you're willing to bet on yourself even before it's perfect. So starting messy is actually a flex. It's you saying, I believe in this enough to be bad at it at first. And honestly, that's where the real magic happens. Not when it's perfect, but when it's real. So you don't have to hide the mess. You don't have to apologize for the mess. Like, own it. Because messy beginnings are what make powerful endings possible. Messy isn't failure. Messy is proof that you had the guts to begin.
Yeah, so I touched a little bit on this before about starting messy and how I think it just really comes down to being your authentic self and not being ashamed of that because the world right now needs real people. And I think we have a lot of this, what's it called? It's like curated,
Instagram worthy freaking perfection.
yeah, like super curated, like everything
Like the highlight.
seems like not quite how it is. You know, there's that like top 1% that's like maybe that's how their life is, but that's not quite how the rest of us live, you know? And I think we're all trying to strive for that, and that's not necessarily what we should be doing. We should be showing the real. And there's so many people who could relate to what you are
Specifically
going
because
through
it's
right
messy.
now as you are. Yeah, because it's messy. And yeah, so if you show that, there's just so many people, yes, to inspire. There's so many people who can relate, and you are needed exactly as you are. I don't want anyone to be discouraged because of, you know, their house isn't aesthetic, or, you know, they don't look like they don't have their dream body, or,
Literally.
you know, something like that. Because there are people who,
Doesn't need to be aesthetic.
yeah. As long as you're shining your light from an authentic place and like moving with love, like we said, like there are people who are going to be drawn to you for the right reasons, and that's all that matters.
So for me personally, I waited years to post consistently on social media. And I had every excuse locked and loaded. It's not the right time. I'm not aesthetic enough. I'm not cool enough to be one of those people who actually shows up online and like builds something. And one of the biggest lies I told myself was that my life wasn't interesting enough to share. Like, I haven't traveled the world. I haven't had these big, exciting life experiences people always seem to post about. I've never had the money to go and do all these things. I haven't even made it more than a state over away from home. And because of that, I convinced myself I didn't have enough to offer. Like, why would anyone care what I had to say if my life doesn't look like some perfect curated Instagram feed? And I wasn't like the cool girl with the cool house that has giant windows, the neutral color palette with my matcha latte like on the balcony. Like, that nobody would care what I had to say. I felt like I already had to have those things in order to put my content out there. But honestly, like, that was just fear talking. Perfectionism in a cute little disguise. Because the real truth is that none of that external stuff actually makes you worthy of showing up. Like, you are inherently worthy already. And the version of you who shows up imperfectly is the one who connects with people. You know, they're the one that makes the impact. Let's talk about confidence. Specifically, the idea that you need to feel confident before you can start something, because you don't. And this is something that I still actually struggle with as well. So we treat confidence like this magical thing that just appears. Like, we're gonna wake up one day fully healed, fully certain, fully fearless, fully certain, fully fearless, and then we'll be able to go after what we want. But that, unfortunately, is just not how it works, even though I really wish it was. You know, confidence doesn't just show up at your doorstep like, hey, babe, I heard you were thinking of starting that thing. I'm here now. Let's go. Like, no. Confidence is built by doing it scared, by taking action without the certainty, and by showing up even when your hands are shaking a little. Every single time I've done something new, like posting, pitching myself, saying something real out loud, I didn't feel confident at first. I felt nervous and I felt awkward, but I did it anyway. And that's what created the confidence. So if you're waiting to feel confident before starting something, unfortunately, you're just going to be waiting forever. Like, confidence doesn't lead the action, it follows it. So you don't have to be sure, you don't have to be fearless, you just have to move. That's the secret. Tiny action repeated, that is how belief builds. So let's stop waiting to feel ready. You're already brave for just wanting more. Confidence will meet you after you move, not before. So go first and let them catch up later.
Yeah, totally. And what this also makes me think of is like building trust with yourself, because also I've learned that like every time you tell yourself you're gonna do something and don't, like it makes your brain learn not to trust yourself. And so like if you say, yeah, you have to follow through. So like if you say, I'm gonna get up at 7:30 today, and then you don't and you press snooze a million times, that's you telling yourself, oh, I didn't do that thing. I don't trust myself because, I lied to myself. So like if you tell yourself you're gonna do something, you have to follow through and build that trust with yourself, or else your brain's gonna say, I don't believe you. You lied to me last time.
Hey,
Like
why are
you
you
told me
calling out
you
your
were gonna
twin
do
right
that
now? That's
thing
pretty
and we
rude,
didn't do it.
actually. Like, why would you do that?
I know, isn't that crazy? So, like, you lie to yourself every time you say, like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and then you end up not doing it. So, like, really try not to make yourself promises unless you're actually gonna do them, because then you build that rapport with yourself and then that confidence. You can say, okay, I trust myself to do this. I'm so confident because I trust myself. So, there's a whole wisdom nugget for you.
And, I think that goes into, talking about perfect timing. So I feel like the idea of perfect timing like keeps us stuck, but good enough to begin gets us moving. So let's talk about that perfect timing. That thing that we're all low key waiting for without even realizing it sometimes. So we tell ourselves stuff like, I'll start when it feels right. I'll move when the timing is better. I'll try when everything lines up just so. But honestly, perfect timing is a myth. Target. It's a moving target. Your brain just keeps pushing a little further out every time you get close. I can't tell you how many times I put off waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel more confident, to have more time, to not be tired, stressed, busy, or overwhelmed, as if that day was magically coming. Spoiler alert, it didn't. I got that on the first try. First try! Okay. Because life is just always a little messy. There's always something, and that's not a bad thing. It's just real. So if we wait for our life to roll out the red carpet and hand us a personal invite to start, we might miss our whole damn life. The real magic happens when you decide that good enough to begin is enough. Not perfect, not finished, not ideal, just ready enough to move. Good enough to start the messy first draft. Good enough to take that first wobbly step. Good enough to say, hey, this might not be flawless, but I'm doing it anyway. You don't owe perfection to your dream. You just owe them momentum. Good one. I'm going to say that again. You don't owe perfection to your dreams. You just owe them momentum. And once you start, the fear shrinks. The road clears, and you realize you were always ready enough. You just had to stop waiting for the fake deadline called perfect timing and trust yourself to begin.
So, something that I say a lot is,
I love when you
PS4,
said that
which
last
is
time. What were
me.
we talking about? You said that to me, and I was like,
Have I said
fucking
that
A,
to you
right?
before?
Yeah,
I say
I'm
that to
keeping that.
myself a lot. I'm like, good enough for who it's for.
I
Usually
think one
me,
of me and
you
Justin say
know.
all the time, one of Justin's favorite phrases, like, good enough is good enough.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just kind of keep that mindset throughout, because literally, like, there have been times where I have felt like trying so hard to do anything and like getting nowhere. And at this point in my life, like, I'm
Lazy?
just trying to take it sleazy, bro. Like, I'm just chill, sleazy. Just trying to take it easy. So, I'm just chilling at this point in my life. And so, like, yes, I want to do a good job at things. And yes, like, I'm going to put my
What,
best
like,
foot forward, but I'm not gonna, that sucks. So, anyway, I just spent a long time for a lot of my life, trying really, really hard. And I'm just at a point now to where, I do my best, but I don't overdo it. And, that's good enough. That's good enough. And if all you can do is good enough, that's
good enough.
Good enough. Good enough. Good enough. Roll on.
So another reminder today that growth doesn't happen while you're waiting, it happens while you're doing. And listen, I get why we wait. We think that if we just sit a little bit longer, if we plan a little better, if we think it through a little more, make a few more vision boards, we'll somehow skip the messy part. The part where it might get awkward. But the truth is that you can only think about swimming for so long before you realize at some point. So
here are some micro steps to take action anyway. 1. Name the thing. Write down exactly what you want to do, but don't judge it in any way. Clarity starts by naming it. 2. Break it into one tiny task. Ask, what's the next smallest step? Not the whole plan, just the one next thing. 3. Set a 5-minute timer. Tell yourself, I'll just do 5 minutes. That 5 minutes often leads to a little bit more momentum. 4. Anchor it to something familiar. Pair it with a habit you already do, like right after coffee or before bed. 5. Say it out loud. I'm doing this because I care about myself. Speaking your intention adds power. 6. Feel the fear, but act anyway. Acknowledge your fear without letting it decide for you. Courage is feeling your fear and doing it anyway. 7. Celebrate the doing, not the result. Give yourself credit for the action, no matter how small, because progress is not perfection. Repeat tomorrow. Keep it simple, keep it kind, keep showing up one tiny win at a time.
Follow us on our Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify, I think is all of our socials for the podcast. And that is at Lelli Fawn _ growing through it. And please share this episode with someone who needed a pep talk today too. And we will see you